Just a week ago, Mexican diplomat Pablo Alubinaga and Vice President of the Brady Violence Policy Center, Jonathan Lowy, wrote an article for The Hill titled, quotes, "Mexico is protecting the world from gun violence, starting with the U.S." The Mexican government is suing U.S. gun manufacturers, specifically 5 in Arizona. Now, this might sound familiar to you. That's because it all happened before, just last year. Let me catch you up. It's no secret that the United Nations has plotted with external powers to push policy outside their jurisdiction. For years now, the Mexican government, otherwise known as the cartel, has been the UN's obedient dog for carrying out their bidding. What bidding specifically? Well, none other than their endless mission to disarm American citizens. Mexico's largest attack on American gun owners was carried out in 2021, when the Mexican government filed a lawsuit against U.S. gun manufacturers Smith & Wesson, Barrett, Colt, Century Arms, Glock, and Ruger. Their claim is that legally bought U.S. guns are being smuggled down south in massive hordes to arm the cartel. Now they could, maybe secure their own border? Maybe if Mexico actually respected their own citizens' God-given right to own firearms, then just maybe the cartel wouldn't run a third of their country. They wouldn't want that anyway. Their corruption runs so deep that their previous president's cartel policy was titled Hugs Not Bullets.
The president calls his approach hugs, not bullets.
How is that working out for Mexico?
Very well.
I will concede, though, I actually agree with Mexico here. America did help arm the cartels. But by America, I actually mean the Obama administration's ATF. Everybody remembers in 2010, the exposure of Operation Fast and Furious revealed that the ATF was outright giving massive weapon caches to the cartel in order to track the route of firearms. If Mexico was serious about going after a culprit, they could do us all a favor and just sue the ATF for their recklessness. But instead, they demanded universal gun registration, a total ban on standard capacity magazines and the guns that use them, a ban on manufacturers from producing certain semi-automatic platforms, and implementing smart gun technology. I won't get into that right now, but it's outright dystopian. Lastly, they wanted $10 billion in damages. I'm thinking Saul Goodman was somehow involved in this case. Now, the weird thing was, the majority of these demands are key objectives in the Arms Trade Treaty, or the ATT, the United Nations magnum opus of gun control. They really thought they were going to win, and they certainly never thought their connection to the UN would be unearthed. But in 2024, 2 suspicious amicus briefs were filed in support of their lawsuit. Immediately, we noticed that both individuals had close ties to the UN, so we dug deeper. Quickly, we found that the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime wrote an entire article in support of the lawsuit that said, quotes, "This case exemplifies the illicit nature of a firearm transfer in circumstances in which weapons could be used to commit human rights violations." We weren't going to stand by and let the UN do as they please, so we wrote our own amicus brief in support of the manufacturers. Quotes, "The Second Amendment rights or any other rights of American citizens should not be in jeopardy simply because a foreign government cannot or will not adequately address its own domestic crime problems. And those foreign governments should not be allowed to use the courts of the United States to avoid the consequences of their own domestic policy failures." Then a few months later, you might remember that I visited the UN at the headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, telling them and Mexico their attack on our right will go as it always does.
Now, Mexico is trying a new method. They are suing U.S. small arms manufacturers in U.S. court, attempting to dodge the corruption and cartel issues that drive Mexico's rampant violence. This will, of course, fail.
Calling them out wouldn't cut it, though. So we took action and held a press conference on the steps of the Supreme Court itself. We were accompanied by some of the most pro-gun 2A representatives in Congress to deliver thousands of petitions you signed telling the Supreme Court of the United States to rein in Mexico's infraction against our rights. And it worked. The justices smacked down the lawsuit south of El Paso with a unanimous decision. That means even liberal justices like Jackson and Sotomayor ruled in our favor. Quotes, "Mexico here focuses on the manufacturer's productions of military-style assault weapons, among which includes AR-15 rifles, AK-47 rifles, and .50 caliber sniper rifles. But those products are both widely legal and bought by many ordinary consumers. In fact, the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the country. The manufacturers cannot be charged with assisting in criminal acts just because Mexican drug cartel members like those guns too. And this was huge. It may sound corny, but when gun owners group up and make our voices heard, it works. Even our attendance at this year's UNATT meeting saw the absence of the US representative because of our outrage. And don't worry, we were sure to rub Mexico's defeat in their faces too.
Last year, I remarked that Mexico was suing the U.S. gun manufacturers as a way to divert blame from their own corruption. My prediction was that it would fail spectacularly, and of course, our U.S. Supreme Court ruled against Mexico 9-0. This was a surprise only to the deluded. Mexico is not struggling because of America's freedoms. If that were true, then bordering Canada would be facing the same disaster, but they aren't.
If you want to watch the full video, the link for that is in the description. Mexico, the United States, all the gun growers have quickly been losing ground. That takes us back to the article from the beginning in which the Mexican diplomat not only rants and raves about the Supreme Court's decision, but he also praises Mexico's newest lawsuit. He doesn't mention it in this article, but to no surprise, this diplomat has deep connections to the UN, even attending the UN himself. One look through other articles reveal his unwavering support of the ATT. One of his articles, he kind of flexes his involvement. Quotes, "I had the opportunity to serve in the Mexican delegation through the negotiation process, starting with the negotiation and adoption of the General Assembly resolution in 2009 and through its adoption in 2013. From the Mexican perspective, this is a particularly important legal instrument given the great challenges and threats posed by the illicit trade of arms that flows mostly from the US border into Mexico, fueling organized crime. Mexico has been a key player in the UN's gun control scheme for ages, even before their lawsuits against the US. Now, regarding the first article, they sound angry, but the worrying aspect is how optimistic they are despite their defeat. Mexico might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but their lawyers will keep coming at us over and over again until eventually something sticks. This Mexican diplomat even specifically mentions Senator John Cornyn's bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which we warned would be used against American gun owners. We won't let Mexico or the UN get away with any of this. But like last time, we'll need your help. So subscribe to keep yourself informed. And if you have time, click on the link in the description to watch our most recent attack on the UNATT. Now, before you go, I also want to briefly remind you that our gear store is having a massive sale with up to 75% off. So if you're still looking for any gifts for gunnies you might know, go ahead, click the link in the description to check it out. Thanks for watching.